It is time for us to hit social media for our cash tag segment. For that, we'd like to welcome in Landon Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio.com, and we have fast market contributor Jenny Horn with us as well here in studio.
Talking Costco today, one of those big box retailers that seemed like it really couldn't stop being on a run in 2019. They climbed over 46% in the past year, and it really was one of those names we would call a retail winner, I believe, of the last year. But I really wanted to bring up actually tweets to start because it's interesting. This is one of those names that has almost a cult-like following. Whether you have to be a member to shop there, of course, but the members that already have their memberships love this place. And of course, you can get everything from food to clothes to bedding to there's a pharmacy, there's a gas station. And the people that shop at Costco really love Costco. And that's definitely what I noticed this morning.
The real thing to do, the real test is, can you go into Costco and come out and not spend $100?
100, I would say 400, and that's what I saw definitely.
Yeah, oh, believe me, it's easy.
I mean, yeah, 100 is
under
like
100.
No problem.
But do you have to go there very often, or do you stock up for the entire quarter when you go in there?
You know, who needs 20 pounds of pickles?
Yeah,
I mean, you walk out, you're like this.
I think that I do, but so our first tweet says, I got a Costco membership, and to be honest, it's the best thing that's happened to me so far in 2020. I mean, I saw people tweeting about how this was like the best thing they've ever, their best Christmas present ever. I mean, this was better than like their relationship. It was so funny this morning.
I have a message for Jess. I hope your 2020 gets a little better.
I don't know about that.
This is the best thing in your 2020.
It's early. There's plenty of time.
Yeah, it's only January. So, Landon, I was really curious to see what you had specifically on Costco memberships.
Yeah, so when we look at memberships, actually, that's a great point. The biggest day for people talking about signing up for a new membership or getting a new membership was Christmas this year, and it's because they were gifted that membership. It's a huge gift, and people are loving it. And you're right, they do have a cult-like following, and they're adding members to that cult as people are joining. It's a great deal. I think it's $60 a year, and then you can go in there and spend $400 on $20 or 20-pound jars of pickles, like Kevin says. And so when we look at people joining up for Costco memberships, you can see that trend line is accelerating up and to the right, very strong, looks a lot like the stock chart. I mean, there's a reason that Costco is basically at all-time highs. More and more people are signing up for memberships, very strong numbers from them. And when we look at the number of people who are shopping at Costco, that's also up and to the right. It looks fantastic as well. And so both new memberships and people shopping at Costco are very strong. I think purchase intent right now is at plus 11 year over year, and the current quarter's on pace for plus 15% year over year. So really strong quarter already getting started. I think they report in March, but right now looking very good.
Landon, is there any seasonality to the Costco membership mentions? Because it seemed like a lot of what I saw this morning was people getting these memberships for Christmas or for birthday presents or as some kind of gift.
They are. And so, yeah, like I said, this year, I don't think it was last year, but this year was a big move for gifting memberships. So Christmas is obviously a big one. Obviously, birthdays are spread throughout the year. But yes, it's very popular to gift someone a membership to Costco, which I didn't know about. But yeah, it's a great way to get a $60 value and go spend more and get a lot of good deals. But the purchase intent is extremely strong. And what's also interesting, we don't have a chart for this, but their happiness of the consumer is very strong. So just for comparison, Walmart's at about 53% happy, Target's 68, Costco's 71. So it's the strongest of all those three. And I think it has a lot to do with the value and the employees are also very happy. So they're presenting a happier environment. I think Costco pays really high wages and employees get fantastic benefits. So all around, fantastic data coming from LikeFolio on Costco.
Of course, their consumers are happy, Landon. You go there, you fill your stomach with little treats. You leave there with a buzz because they're serving you alcohol in the hall, in the aisles. Of course, but here's my question. I'm sorry, I digress. Do you guys ever measure like the three big retailers against each other, like Walmart, Amazon, Costco? And do you ever compare them to each other in terms of happiness or whatever metrics that LikeFolio might use to compare the three in any way?
Yeah, I think that for happiness, it's really easy to compare them. And like I said, Costco's at the top of the list for those. For purchase intent or new memberships, it's a little bit more difficult because the way that people talk about memberships can vary from company to company. So we like to look at the company versus itself over time. And for both new memberships and for people shopping at Costco, our data is at all-time highs with the stock. And so we're big supporters of this company. The only thing I don't like about this company is they report their numbers every month.
Yes.
So that takes away a big advantage of LikeFolio. We've got the whole quarter data, and they're releasing it twice before we're able to get the jump on them on earnings. But we know that December was very strong. They just came out with that. Our data supports that as well. And we see January as very strong as well. So quarter over quarter, or year over year, this quarter is looking on pace to be 15%, which I think is getting a lot of rumor talk going about a potential special dividend, which of course investors are going to love.
Landon, building on all this, I'm looking at kind of your historical consumer purchase intent mentions chart, and obviously this stock has kind of stayed below that purchase intent line for the most part when you look back at it over time, and we've really closed the gap over the last year, and as Jenny mentioned, clearly a winner in 2019, up about 50% over the last 52 weeks. Are you concerned at all with the stock at all-time highs that, maybe it's just running out of room to the upside?
I would be if they weren't putting up numbers that were all-time highs for us. So purchase intent is basically all-time highs. And yes, it has caught up a little bit. I think investors are starting to understand that this acceleration is holding. And so, I would be a little bit less bullish than I was, say, a year ago. But I'm still very strong on this company just because new memberships, all-time highs, people shopping, all-time highs, happiness extremely high. All around, this is really good. Plus, the U.S. has a strong consumer right now. Home building metrics are looking very good, which is big for Costco because they get those big purchases. They come in for appliances and furniture, and they spend a lot more than $400. So everything is looking good for Costco. I wish it was much cheaper than $310 or $315, whatever it's at right now. I wish it was a little bit lower, but even here, for me, this is a sort of a buy high and sell higher type approach.
Yeah, Landon, I like that you mentioned happiness because this is one of those names that's great to look at on a Friday because all of the customers seem really, really, really happy and people tweet that way. I mean, it's not like looking at the airlines where everyone's complaining. People love to tweet about Costco and love to tweet about their positive experiences at Costco. So our next tweet says, Costco has to be my top company in my books, and the quality of the product, the prices, the return policy, and the pizza. Some of the best stuff in the world. Keep it up. I mean, I love to see positive tweets because people aren't always so positive on social media, but you actually took my question because I was going to ask you, is this a situation similar to a Nike where you buy high, sell higher? Because of course the stock has been on a run up. They're trading at like something of 36 times forward earnings. So this stock is expensive, which is the bearish case right now.
Right, sure. I think that's the only possible bearish case is that the stock is so high. But when you look at the underlying data, everything says the stock should be high. And so I don't like to go into too much of an overbought situation, especially when the data supports the stock price. If all of a sudden, a quarter from now, everything starts pulling back, then yeah, it could be a great shorting opportunity. But right now where it's at, all the data is fantastic. Purchase intent is growing at a very fast pace. It's on a great pace for this quarter. Happiness is high. People love shopping there. I mean, everything's great. And, you got people talking about the food there because it's just another way to get people happy. They serve decent food, and it's really, really cheap. And I think that drills in the mentality that you're getting a good deal here. It's probably a loss leader for them, and it just gets people in the door and gets them shopping so they can go buy $1,000 worth of stuff. And
Landon, kind of building on the happiness clearly seems to be the story, as that's really what's distinguishing this particular company from the other competitors in the space, like a Walmart or a Target. This is a membership-based company, obviously, where you have to actually, elect to pay a membership subscription fee to be able to shop at this store, unless you use Instacart, which Jenny has pointed out in the past. But that's 16.3% of their revenue. So with that, and you're still seeing a very high happiness, how important is it for them to really, have this illusion or provide this premium service with the food and the samples to really get people kind of distracted from the fact that they're paying to be able to be there?
I think, I think having people pay to be there, it actually helps them because if you're thinking about going grocery shopping, you kind of have this sunk cost mentality, a little bit of cognitive dissonance where you've already got $60 in, you might as well go to the place where not everyone can go, but you're special because you paid this membership fee. So I think it actually creates brand loyalty and customers returning more often than had they not paid. And so, yeah, it costs a little bit of money, but now there's so many people gifting this, it's a no-brainer for them. And that's a big number, though. You'd say that's about a sixth of their revenue. That's a very high number. And of course, I think that there's a little bit of perception that if you have to pay for a membership, the deals must be good. And so I think that's going into getting that brand loyalty, people coming back time and time again.
Okay, now Landon, you mentioned the $60, that's the Gold Star Costco membership, but there's also then the executive membership, which is $120 a year. So that one's like for the big spenders. And
Executive
you get
is
like
more than Gold Star?
Yes. And
I'm telling you, you want to know what? Here, I'll give you the negative tweet of the day in Costco, okay? Here's what the Costco near my home needs. It needs a bigger parking lot.
Yes.
And a shuttle bus from those far spots to the front door.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I need a shuttle bus from my apartment to the Costco,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think.
Well, that's a good idea, too.
Landon, as we wrap this up, I think you make a really good point, kind of with the idea that, once you've already spent this membership fee, it gives you kind of the idea that, the deals must be better, but really that, hey, if I'm paying for this, I should probably use this service, which then builds on the fact that, ultimately Costco is trying to sell people things. So I think it's a really good point, and we'll see kind of how the rest of this quarter shapes up, and we'll touch base again at the beginning of March when they do report these earnings.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. You have a great weekend.